and welcome to the Dynamic Duel podcast, a weekly show where we review superhero films and debate the superiority between Marvel and DC by comparing their characters in stat-based battle simulations. I'm Marvelous Joe.
And I'm his twin brother, Johnny DC.
And in this episode, we are going to figure out who would win in a fight between Penguin, the Batman villain, and Kingpin, the Daredevil villain, / Spider-Man villain.
Right, it's another Duel episode, and I'm really looking forward to this one. It's been a while since we've done one. This is only our second Duel of the year, and it's already February.
Yeah, we've been doing a lot of reviews, but it's good to get back to the duels. We decided to go with Penguin versus Kingpin because of the prominence that Kingpin has been playing in Marvel media lately, considering he was the main villain in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and also so fresh in our minds still from Daredevil Season 3, which was great. With the Punisher Netflix show being reviewed last week, we figured we could keep on that Netflix character theme and go with a Kingpin duel.
Right. But before that, we're going to break down the news from the past week.
Yeah, there's quite a bit to talk about. We're going to be talking about updates to Matt Reeves' The Batman film. We're going to talk about the Captain Marvel Super Bowl TV spot, the announcement that James Gunn is officially going to direct Suicide Squad 2, the Avengers Endgame Super Bowl TV spot, and the announcement of a DC Super Pets animated film. All right, yeah, we're going to talk about that. As always, you can check out the episode description to go ahead and jump to the topic that you want to hear about.
Quick shout out to everyone who's given us a rating on iTunes or Apple Podcasts. We're at 73 right now, but we're slowly climbing towards 200 ratings, at which point we will meet all the criteria for Rotten Tomatoes to become certified Rotten Tomatoes critics and have our blurbs up there on the Rotten Tomatoes pages for the films.
It'll be magic.
It's going to be awesome once we get it.
Yeah, please help us get there, guys. Again, go ahead and rate us on iTunes or Apple Podcasts whenever you get a chance. Thank you. And with that out of the way,
quick, to the No Prize. So a No Prize is an award that Marvel used to give out up until the 90s to fans. Our version of the Dynamic Duel No Prize is a digital award that we post on social media that I personally draw for those who we feel gave the best answer to our question of the week. Last week's question was, what are your thoughts on our first look at the Birds of Prey characters? And I do have to say, I wish there was a little bit more variety.
The response was, we'll say mixed. No, it was all negative.
It was all negative. Honestly, I kind of wish one of our female listeners would have posted their reaction, because I think really ultimately that is the target audience for this film.
No, the female audience hates it too. They would have given
the same answer. You don't know that. So everyone's a winner because you all gave the same answer, essentially. Caleb Albers said, I'm going to be as eloquent as I can, sharing my thoughts on the first look.
Joel Seagrave, thank you for answering. It looks okay for still images, but at least they can't look any worse than Suicide Squad. I agree.
I mean, it looks like Suicide Squad to me. That's why I'm so surprised that everyone else was surprised. It's like, yeah, we had Suicide Squad. Harley Quinn comes from Suicide Squad. This is Harley Quinn's film.
Yeah, they both suck.
Ergo, I don't know. Ken Johnson said that he's hoping this is just the beginning of the characters' designs. He's not impressed.
And congrats to Jeremy Orr, who gave the answer, boo.
Now, was he saying boo or boo-earns?
I'm pretty sure he's just saying boo. But yeah, congrats to all four of you. You guys win the No Prize, and we will be asking another question of the week later on this episode if you want to win a No Prize as well.
I do have to say, if someone would have said that they liked it, I would have given them the award.
I wouldn't have let you. But on to the news.
Okay, so all the news topics that I'll be talking about today for DC all kind of came out at once. Yeah. Essentially, we know what Warner Brothers' plans for the DC universe on film are through 2021. And in 2021, it's just going to be the summer of DC, essentially.
Yeah, they're going to have a lot of films coming out.
Yeah, Matt Reeves' The Batman film will be coming out June 25th, 2021, and Ben Affleck will not be starring in it.
Which kind of hurts because I know that Ben Affleck definitely had his detractors, but I was actually always a pretty big fan of his version of Bruce Wayne. He didn't star in the best movies for sure, but he always reminded me of like the animated series Bruce Wayne.
I am definitely heartbroken by this news, but I'm also not surprised. Right. You know, to me, he was like the most definitive Batman that we've had on screen, like straight from the comic book. Uh-huh. But it's always been rumored that Matt Reeves has wanted to go with a younger Batman.
Right.
You know, and tell a story from his earlier years in crime fighting.
Right. Which I don't understand why you would write your script that way if you already had such star power in Ben Affleck. Although I guess star power doesn't account for much considering the box office grosses of the DC films that he's been in.
It's true. I mean, yeah, Aquaman has beaten Batman now. It's a harsh reality in a way. But Matt Reeves, he's an auteur, you know, he's the closest thing we have sort of to like Christopher Nolan. And if he wants to do a film a certain way, you know, that's what they hired him to do essentially.
Yeah.
Is to make a film that he's passionate about.
I have all the faith in him considering how great the Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and War for the Planet of the Apes films were. And Ben Affleck is still serving as a producer on the movie. And actually, I think he's the one that broke this news, or he's the first one who tweeted the Deadline story.
Well, right when the story came out, he did tweet the story, and he wished it best of luck. He seems to have a good attitude about it, which just makes this so much harder. It is rumored that this film will feature like an entire rogues gallery of Batman villains, and that's been described as being very noir, which are all like things that should make me really happy. It's just really hard to be happy.
Yeah, some people are thinking that the film will be an adaptation of The Long Halloween.
I wouldn't be surprised, considering it was a monthly series that had a different villain for each month.
Okay.
So I don't think it's going to be that. Maybe inspired by that, but a lot of projects have been, like The Dark Knight, like Batman Begins.
Gotcha.
So.
Well, that brings us to our question of the week.
Who do you think should play Batman in the Matt Reeves directed film? I know personally, I'm still reeling from this news. It's too soon for me
to even move on.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear what your answers are.
Post your answer to our Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or email us at dynamicduelpodcast@gmail.com. We'll pick our favorite answer and draw that person a Dynamic Duel No Prize that we'll post to social media. And so the Super Bowl was this past Sunday. It was the most boring Super Bowl in the history of Super Bowls.
I didn't even watch it.
I watched it mainly for the commercials, which were mostly boring, but I was trying to find a Marvel TV spot, and I didn't actually catch any of it while the game was going, but I did catch them online.
Yeah, they were pretty short.
Yeah, they're only about 30 seconds each, but the first one that we got was Captain Marvel, and it had a lot of great new footage in it. It started off a little bit weak because I'm not entirely sold on Brie Larson's delivery of her Carol Danvers character. You know, her lines are a little bit forced. Like, she's really not a cocky person in real life, Brie Larson.
Right.
So I feel like she may be struggling with the inherent cockiness of the character. Especially when Maria Rambeau is like, time to show these boys how it's done. And then it's just like a second too long.
Yeah.
Where Brie Larson is just kind of like, higher, further, faster, baby. And I was like, oh God. You could have done that a little bit better.
You know, I think it's her voice. I think it's just a little
too soft,
too high pitched.
No,
I mean, there's nothing she could do about that. But when I think of Captain Marvel, I think of a little bit more presence in her voice.
Yeah, I mean,
even towards the end when she's like, "Think you could keep up" or something like that.
Yeah,
it's like I don't know if I'm quite sold on that.
I think she's doing her damnedest to have the presence that this type of character requires. She doesn't quite have that presence as an actress, but that's just judging off of this promotional material. It may be
really all the promotional material.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, those are the vibes that we've always gotten. I'm still reserving final judgment for when the film actually comes out to see if that'll actually be the case. Who knows? She may actually be like a huge badass in this.
She may just nail it out of the park.
She does look really cool when she's doing things like flying her jet and she's like evading like alien gunfire and stuff like that. I think she looks pretty damn sweet. It looks really action-packed, like flying through the air and like punching other ships and stuff like that. It's really damn impressive.
Yeah.
Although I think that's mostly special effects and everything like that. But I think the character will be a spectacle for sure.
Yeah.
And that'll be one of the big draws of the film.
I do think that there's still a lot of confusion around the character, however. I was looking at an article earlier today that was saying a lot of people on Twitter were wondering if Captain Marvel was a woman.
What?
Yeah. And I'm not sure if it's because they're confusing, you know, the whole like Captain Marvel Shazam thing.
Oh.
But
well, that makes sense because I saw an article earlier today that was titled, "Yes, Captain Marvel is a woman." And I was like,
right.
Well, I didn't even click on it. I was like, obviously, idiot article. The context of that actually makes sense if there were other articles questioning her identity, basically.
But it just makes me wonder, like, is this the first some people are hearing about Captain Marvel? Like,
it's possible.
Do people not go to the movies and watch trailers?
I mean, everybody watches the Super Bowl, so...
True.
So, yeah, it's possible. Especially if they never saw, like, Infinity War or something like that, but they're, like, fans of Marvel. So, yeah, I didn't even think about that. That's a good question. That's pretty much it for that TV spot. Again, it was really short, but I do like the footage that we saw overall.
The last shot of her punching the plane was pretty badass.
Yeah. And I did kind of like the music, too. It was just basically a repeat of Brie Larson saying higher, faster, further, but it was kind of set to a beat that kind of made it seem like intense and exciting.
Yeah.
Yep. Moving on to the news about James Gunn.
Yeah, back to the news people want to hear about.
No,
James Gunn is set to officially direct Suicide Squad 2, and it has a release date of August 6th, 2021.
Yeah, so we knew he was writing the film, and we had suspected that he would be tapped to direct.
Right.
But now it's been confirmed, and it is fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to do a great job with the movie. It has been strongly rumored that he's not going to use the same cast, which is kind of heartbreaking, especially considering, a Harley Quinn film is going to be out the year prior.
I did like Will Smith as Deadshot.
Yeah.
I don't really care about the others.
I mean, Jai Courtney was okay as Captain Boomerang. I mean, the character was written horribly, didn't do jack shit in the film, but I still liked his delivery of his lines.
Uh-huh.
So I'm hoping he does keep at least those two characters. I don't imagine Harley Quinn will be in this iteration.
The roster of Suicide Squad is always changing because, people die or they're getting, released out of prison.
Right.
But yeah, I think it would be cool to see at least Will Smith and Jai Courtney return, if not Margot Robbie as well, because they were the big three.
I agree.
Maybe Katana. I'd like to see her and Killer Frost. You could totally ditch El Diablo and Killer Croc, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a recent iteration where General Zod has been a member of the team.
Really?
Yeah, he was resurrected and made a part of the team.
Oh God, no more General Zod. He's already been resurrected as
Doomsday. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you probably can't do that. Interestingly, it's been reported that James Gunn was offered projects such as Superman by Warner Brothers. But
that would have been cool.
Yeah, but he turned all of that down for Suicide Squad.
Well, I think it fits his particular tone and style of directing more than Superman would. I think he kind of likes telling tales about the underdogs, more gritty type characters. Because look at his previous films with the specials or with Super.
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy was perfect for him. And, it's a shame that I'm still upset that he's not going to be able to direct Guardians of the Galaxy 3. But as a fan, wishful thinking, the next project I would hand him would be Suicide Squad. And I think this is going to turn out to be a great project for him.
Yeah, I mean, I like the fact that he's a fan of comic books.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't mind him helming something like Superman because I know he knows the source material. If we couldn't get someone like Matthew Vaughn, then I wouldn't mind someone like James Gunn, honestly. Let him prove himself with Suicide Squad, and if that does well, give him more access to more characters, I think.
Yeah. It seems like he's gotten past the controversy that he had in the past year a little bit.
Not quite.
Do you still see a lot of backlash regarding this news?
Not as much as I have before, but when the film was released, I wouldn't be surprised if there were some protests.
I don't know. I mean, look at the shit that Bryan Singer's got himself into, and yet Bohemian Rhapsody as a film still did really damn well.
Was he credited as the director for that film?
Yeah, due to the Directors Guild.
Like Zack Snyder and Justice League.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Moving on to the Avengers Endgame Super Bowl TV spot.
Yes, this was awesome. I saw this and I started freaking out. For some reason, I feel like these 30 seconds affected me a little bit more than the first trailer did. And the first trailer was a very somber affair.
Yeah.
This one, I think, had a little bit more urgency to it. It was a little bit quicker paced. And I think it may have benefited from only being, 30 seconds, but still pretty much selling the same story as that first trailer.
It was probably the editing, but it definitely had more energy that kind of built up.
Right. It starts off pretty sad because you get glimpses of this really cloudy, cold day in New York City going over Citibank Field and seeing the Statue of Liberty on Liberty Island and stuff like that. And it looks like there's a support group happening that Cap's a part of for survivors of, the snapping.
Right. And I love how, in the first trailer that we got for this, Cap's very melancholy. He's like, I don't even know what to do.
Yeah.
But in this one, he's you could see an anger is building.
Yeah, he seems a little bit more go-getter.
Yeah.
Know? He's planning on doing something. He's not just going to sit back and just mope. He looks a little bit angry. And
he's ready to go.
Yeah.
And I like how towards the end, it builds up to him, tightening his shield strap.
Yeah, he kind of has an arc throughout this little 30-second trailer, huh?
Yeah, he's getting prepared.
He's ready. He's getting pumped.
As am I.
Some people move on, but not us. We got shit to do.
Do it.
I have to say, I'm really impressed by Chris Evans' jaw acting in this trailer. It's makes me think that maybe I should shave my beard or something so that I could do more jaw emoting, if that's a thing. We see Tony Stark and Nebula working together on building something. It's likely that they're escaping Titan by this point, getting back on the Benatar, fixing it up or something like that. There's a really cool shot that I really liked of Ant-Man and War Machine, and they're both putting their helmets on, consecutively.
Thunk, thunk.
Yeah, that was really cool. It kind of reminded me of that moment from Iron Man 2 when Iron Man and War Machine were fighting the drones.
Yeah.
And they did that same exact thing.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. We see Thor in some kind of I think it's an alien planet, or maybe it's Wakanda, but he's holding his Stormbreaker hammer, and I'm trying to figure out where he is. Is he on another planet looking for Asgardians? Is he on the planet that Thanos was on when Avengers Infinity War ended?
Right.
Is he on Earth? Who knows? But the architecture is just so bizarre.
Yeah, I was wondering the same thing.
Could be Wakandan.
I'm just surprised how little they're showing of the story so far.
Yeah.
We still don't know what's going to happen, yet we're still pumped for it.
Yeah, it's still so effective.
Because, there's been so many toy leaks with different costumes and stuff like that. It's we haven't seen any of that. We've barely scratched the surface.
Just knowing that they have a plan, they're going to do something about what happened, gets me pumped. That cool shot of them in silhouette, walking across the Avengers mansion, something's going down, and it's going to be fucking awesome. Can't wait for this movie.
We'll probably get one more trailer for it, right?
We'll probably
before Captain Marvel.
Yeah, one more trailer with Captain Marvel's release in theaters, and then that'll probably be it. And I hope they really don't show too much in the next trailer.
Dude, they're probably just going to show everyone suiting up, and everyone will still go bonkers over the trailer. Oh my gosh, it's the greatest trailer that's ever existed.
That's what I would say. So, but yeah, moving on to the DC Super Pets news.
Yeah, not much to say here. I guess DC Super Pets is getting an animated film that's set to release May 21st in 2021. I've seen 2 episodes.
So it's a TV show on
a
Cartoon Network or something?
I think so, yeah. Cartoon Network.
Okay.
It's basically just, Crypto and Ace the Bat Hound and Streaky, Supergirl's cat, just their adventures.
Okay. Is it kind of like Teen Titans Go?
I imagine that's the demographic they're aiming for. It seems like they're releasing one kid-oriented animated film once per year. If it's not Lego Batman, then it's Teen Titans Go. Now it's DC Super Pets.
Yeah.
I hope they go a 3D animated route because the cartoon is flat.
Right.
I would love to see something along the lines of Bolt, that Disney film.
Or The Secret Life of Pets or something like that.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah, that would be cool. It's likely they won't go that route since they didn't do that for Teen Titans Go, and that's a 2D animated show on Cartoon Network.
It is a cheap way to go.
Yeah.
So...
Well, I think that does it for all the news then. Let's go ahead and get into our duel match where we figure out who's going to win in a fight between Penguin and Kingpin.
Let's do it!
All right, Penguin versus Kingpin. Again, we're doing this particular matchup because Kingpin has been all the rage lately, we think, within the past few months or so with Daredevil Season 3 and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And we thought that Penguin would be a good matchup for him because they're both, crime lords of the underworld.
Yeah.
They're both, a little soggy around the midsection.
Right.
Although with Kingpin, it's actually muscle.
Is it, though?
It is.
Honestly, I'm kind of hoping that this just ends with them both in their underwear, just sumo wrestling each other.
You should have just stopped with underwear. That would have been a much more funny statement. But I think they're comparable in terms of what they bring to the table. They're both pretty decent fighters. They both have a few tricks up their sleeve. They're both really cunning
and sinister and shrewd business criminal masterminds.
Yeah, I don't think either one of them has a huge leg up on the other. What one lacks in physical characteristics, he makes up for in gadgetry and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a really fun fight. I'm really interested to see exactly who's going to win here. If this is your first time ever listening to one of our duel episodes, what we do is we take stats from each character that we're pitting against each other, and we take them from the official Marvel Power Rankings grid, which you can find by going to marvel.com. We do add a few other stats as well that we think will be important to the battle, but we extrapolate the DC stats based on the criteria that Marvel sets up for those rankings. Then we take those numbers and we plot them along a normal distribution, which is essentially a bell curve. And then we randomize the number along that curve, which essentially represents all the variables that could take place during a battle.
Yeah, it's a simulation model known as the Monte Carlo method.
And it's what the Deadliest Warrior television show on Spike TV used to do.
Yeah, it was a decade ago that show was on the air.
Yeah.
But basically it all comes down to math.
Right.
There's no fan votes, no uncharacteristic feats of strength, just base stats.
Right. And we figured this was the most objective way to solve these discussions because both Jonathan and I are extremely biased. You know, I'm always going to say Kingpin is going to win, and Jonathan's always going to say the Penguin is going to win. And really, the truth lies somewhere in the middle. No one character ever wins 100% of the time. And what these simulations do is they give us a percentage of wins for each character.
Right.
And we declare the person that wins the most number of matches out of 1,000 to be the ultimate victor. Before we run the simulations, we'd like to give a breakdown of each character's history and abilities. So I'll go ahead and go first and let you know all about the Kingpin. The Kingpin is actually one of my favorite villains because he takes care of all the low-level crime that happens,
in New
or
York.
at least a majority of it, especially in New York, but all along the eastern seaboard, Las Vegas as well. I think his greatest assets are his mental faculties and exactly how he's able to just screw over so many different types of heroes without actually having to lift a finger.
Right.
And even though if the need ever arose, he could totally handle himself because of how he's built and how he's framed. So, born to a poor family in New York City, Wilson Fisk grew up without much formal education, though he realized from an early age the important relationship between knowledge and power. He became self-taught, often borrowing and stealing books at an early age, developing a particular affinity for political science and art. He was often teased and bullied by other kids for being overweight, building an anger within him that led to his first murder at the age of 12. Discovering the power in having brute strength, Fisk arduously trained in bodybuilding and personal combat, with a focus in the Japanese art of sumo. He became a mountain of a man while still a teenager, and used his strength and intellect to intimidate other teens into joining his street gang. His leadership abilities and brutality got the attention of a New York City crime boss named Don Rigoletto, who recruited Kingpin to be in the mob. Not content with just being an enforcer, Fisk killed Rigoletto and took over his operations, the first step in building his East Coast criminal empire. With his wealth, power, and influence growing, Fisk gained the nickname the Kingpin of Crime. His early efforts were often foiled by Spider-Man, but Fisk's influence and power made sure he was never put away for long. He took a step back from getting his hands dirty and carefully plotted his criminal pursuits away from the eyes of the law, partly by buying off much of the police force and partly by legitimizing his illegal earnings by investing in legal businesses. This included taking advantage of the public destruction caused by superhero and supervillain showdowns by being an early prominent investor in Damage Control, a public cleanup company for superhero battles. He met and fell in love with a woman named Vanessa Mariana, and they had a kid named Richard, who was sent to boarding school. Wilson was smitten with Vanessa, feeling that she brought him the peace he sought during his constant struggle for power. He was quite possessive of her and made sure his family was a higher priority than any of his criminal endeavors. She eventually had them retired to Japan, where they lived happily until one of Fisk's aides apparently killed Vanessa to bring the Kingpin back into his life of crime.
Oh, why?
Because he's so good at being a criminal mastermind.
Dang.
There's money to be made there. Enraged, Kingpin moved back to New York City and manipulated Matt Murdock, aka Daredevil, into legally wiping out his competition. Because Daredevil's a lawyer.
Right.
Fisk rebuilt his criminal empire stronger than ever, becoming larger than his primary rivals, the Maggia crime family. His goals became politically oriented when he had his puppet candidate run for mayor of New York. Matt Murdock stopped him, however, when he revealed that Vanessa was still alive, and offered to return her if Fisk pulled his candidate from the race, which he did. In retaliation, Fisk had one of his assassins, Elektra, kill Matt's law partner, Foggy Nelson, and when she failed, Bullseye killed her. You can find out more about Elektra in our Elektra vs. Katana duel, and you can learn more about Daredevil in our Nightwing vs. Daredevil duel. Kingpin discovered Daredevil's true identity when Matt Murdock's former secretary Karen Page sold out his identity while addicted to heroin. He used the information to rid Murdock of his money, his house, his law practice, and then framed him for murder. Matt was able to come back and defeat Fisk, but his secret identity would no longer ever be secret to the Kingpin. Fisk rebuilt his criminal empire from the ground up while in East Asia and used his influence there to reestablish his U.S. dealings. After his return to the U.S., he sold Daredevil's secret identity to the Spider-Man villain Mysterio, who used the information to temporarily drive Matt Murdock insane. Fisk's son, Richard, now grown, returned to New York and tried to kill his father and take over the Kingpin's crime organization. Richard was nearly successful, but he was confronted by his mother, Vanessa, who killed him for his assassination attempt on Fisk.
Wow.
She fled with Fisk to Eastern Europe, where he recuperated for a time. When he returned, he was promptly beaten by Daredevil, who had declared himself the new Kingpin of New York. Fisk was arrested and used his time in prison to manipulate the FBI into arresting Matt Murdock, who was placed in the same cell. They were prevented from killing each other, however, by a prison riot that Murdoch was able to use to escape. While still in prison during the Civil War event, Kingpin tried to make a deal with Tony Stark where he would reveal Captain America's secret hideout base in exchange for a reduced sentence, but ended up betraying Iron Man and directed him to an ambush, preferring to help Cap's side instead. Eventually, Fisk was freed from prison by Matt Murdock himself, who fulfilled Vanessa's dying wish. She had fallen ill. And Matt offered to serve as Kingpin's attorney on the condition that once freed, Fisk would give up his US citizenship and leave the country for good. Fisk went back on Vanessa's deal, however, and returned to the US, temporarily taking control of the Hand and relocating to San Francisco. Daredevil, who had also moved to San Francisco, made his identity public, which removed the leverage that Fisk had always had on him. Fisk moved back to New York and helped treat the victims of Hydra's rise to power there, and he used his goodwill to make an independent bid as New York City's mayor. Fisk won the mayoral election based on his platform of ridding New York of vigilantes and supervillains, although Fisk did rig that election. Abilities-wise, the Kingpin's physiology is nearly pure muscle, and he is among the strongest men on the planet who is not enhanced with superpowers. He is an accomplished martial artist with a mastery of sumo wrestling, judo, and hapkido that make him a physical threat for someone like Daredevil. He has a genius intellect and is an exceptionally strategic thinker, having been managing most of the organized crime on the Eastern Seaboard for decades. He has a few gadgets he employs as a last resort to take his enemies by surprise, including a walking cane that can fire a short laser energy pulse, and a stick pin he wears on his suit that can emit sleeping gas. And that's the Kingpin.
I'm always surprised sometimes when we come up with these matches how close the characters are without us even being
Aware of that?
That. When it comes to like being bullied and even becoming something like mayor. Like, I don't really go into this in my bio, but there was a time when the Penguin was the mayor of Gotham City.
Right, in Batman Returns.
No, this was during the New 52, long after that.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just fascinating sometimes how close these characters are.
Yep.
But of course, the Penguin came first, so Marvel's a big ripoff.
Well, it doesn't matter if you do it first, it matters if you do it better. That's what I always say.
Whatever. So let me get into the Penguin's bio. The Penguin gets his name from his short, obese stature, sharp facial features, and propensity for wearing tailed tuxedos. He's one of Batman's oldest villains, unique in that he's not only sane, but also insanely wealthy. Seeing as he's found more success over the years managing other villains' investments, as well as providing them with black market arms, than he has in actually going toe-to-toe with Batman. He's arguably Batman's second most popular villain, and like most of Batman's more successful bad guys, he's a dark mirror reflection of who Batman is, or in this case, I guess who Bruce Wayne is. Like the Wayne family, the Cobblepots have an established legacy of wealth and influence within Gotham City. But unlike the Waynes, the Cobblepots also had an infamous history of corruption and scandal. When Oswald Chesterfield Cobblepot was born, his loving mother Miranda placed him in his father's arms for the first time, and he dropped Oswald on his head, disgusted by the baby's appearance. Oswald was bullied and teased throughout his childhood by his classmates, brothers, and even his father, who nicknamed him the Penguin, not only because of his appearance, but also because his sole companions were a collection of pet birds given to him by his loving, doting mother. While caring for the birds, Oswald often plotted revenge against everyone who bullied and beat him, and he cleverly orchestrated the deaths of his brothers and father.
Wow.
His brother Jason died due to poisoning, William in a hit and run, and Robert in an accident that left him beneath a frozen lake. His father Tucker died of pneumonia after he couldn't find his umbrella. Once Oswald's classmates started dying, he was investigated by the authorities, but was found innocent due to a lack of evidence and his mother's own belief and insistence that he was incapable of hurting anyone. She did force him, however, to carry an umbrella with him at all times in the fear that Oswald could die the same way his father had. Oswald grew to embrace his Penguin nickname, and when he got older, he embarked in his career as a criminal mastermind. He used his fortune to open the Iceberg Lounge, an ice-themed floating casino, hotel, and nightclub that's home to both Gotham's criminal element and its social elite.
I've always thought that was pretty cool. You'd think it'd be more of a Mr. Freeze type thing, though. Although I guess Mr.
He's
Freeze
a penguin.
is... Yeah, I guess Mr. Freeze is no aristocrat.
No, not at all. The lounge serves as a legitimate cover to the Penguin's illegal activities, which range from jewel heists to drug trafficking. He knows how to diversify, and he has his flippers in all sorts of criminal enterprises. When Batman and Harvey Dent helped bring down the mafia crime organizations in Gotham, the Penguin stepped in and became one of the heads of the city's criminal underworld. Though in the New 52 continuity, the Penguin was a lieutenant in the mobster Carmine Falcone's operations, and when the Joker took over those operations before being stopped by Batman, the Penguin filled in that power vacuum, making him the most powerful crime lord in Gotham City. More often than not, Batman lets the Penguin continue his petty operations due to the information the Penguin is privy to because of his lounge. The Penguin has been more than willing on numerous occasions to give up that information if it means not being in prison.
His name should be the Rat.
Yeah, essentially. When the Penguin crosses a line and the Dark Knight does have to imprison him, the Penguin doesn't go to Arkham Asylum like most Batman villains. He goes to Blackgate Prison, though most of the time, he goes scot-free thanks to his cadre of expensive lawyers. When that approach fails, he's been known to team up with other imprisoned villains to stage prison escapes, though his loyalty is only to himself, and he's been known to double-cross partners if it serves his best interest. While on the run during one of his prison escapes, the Penguin ran into a hunchbacked mute named Harold Allnut, being assaulted by a group of thugs. The Penguin saved him and learned that the overlooked Harold was actually a mechanical genius, and he manipulated Harold into developing a frequency emitter that allowed him to control birds. The Penguin used the device to wreak havoc across Gotham City and used the chaos to kidnap his favorite actress. Batman stopped the Penguin and rescued both the actress and Harold, the latter of whom Batman took under his wing, giving him a home in his Batcave in exchange for the development and maintenance of Batman's equipment. If you ever wondered who maintained the Batmobile and made all those Batarangs, it's Harold.
It's not Alfred.
No. Although that ended with Jeff Loeb's and Jim Lee's Hush run.
Okay.
There have been multiple instances when the Penguin has sincerely tried to live legitimately and crime-free, but his lack of patience and sensitive ego caused him to slip heavily back into a violent lifestyle for the most trivial of slights, such as when a patron of the Iceberg Lounge accidentally bumped into him, so the Penguin therefore had his entire family killed.
Holy shit.
He's obsessed with being respected, and he's obsessed with revenge if he's not shown that respect. He's a capable fighter, having had advanced training in judo, fencing, ninjutsu, and bare-knuckle boxing, though he's much better at dealing the punishment than he is at receiving it, and he more often than not prefers to hire henchmen who will get their hands dirty on his behalf. Some of the best fighters and mercenaries in the world have been on his payroll, including Black Canary early on in her career. It was the Penguin who, with his aviary fixation, bestowed her with her crime-fighting moniker before becoming a formidable foe to her own superhero team, the Birds of Prey.
Is that a New 52 thing?
Yes.
Interesting.
When the Penguin is provoked into combat, he often utilizes a variety of trick umbrellas at his disposal, which can contain machine guns, flamethrowers, missiles, lasers, sleeping gas. The possibilities are endless. The umbrellas can also serve as flying transportation, like a helicopter or jetpack, and a shield. He has a broad collection of trained exotic birds that he occasionally puts to use, but his greatest weapon is his sinister intellect. He is a genius when it comes to business management and uses his wealth to influence Gotham City's economy, politics, and crime. That's the Penguin.
So what type of umbrella is he going to have exactly during the course of this fight?
What do you like to know?
Yeah, I would. Like, does each umbrella only do one thing, or does he have, like, multi-purpose umbrellas?
He does have some multi-purpose umbrellas. Not all of them do everything, though.
Okay, I'm counting on that.
Okay.
All right, because that's a lot of shit that he could do.
But, I mean, stat-wise, like, that's not going to matter. You're not going to know which one he's taking into the battle.
Right, that's true. Okay, so now that we've gone over the histories of the characters, what we like to do is we like to improvise a scenario where we speculate on how we think a match between the two would actually go.
Right, it's all speculative, and it doesn't have any bearing on the results.
Or the simulation itself.
Right.
But it's something that we like to do because it's fun.
Yeah.
And it's fun to think that this is how maybe one of these 1,000 matches that we run would actually go.
Exactly. We don't set many rules for the speculation, but we do say that they start off about 50 yards apart. They don't know anything about each other other than they know that each other are threats and need to take them down.
Yeah, and the only other rule that we have is that the environment does not play any bearing whatsoever on the match itself. Considering that we don't take stats for the environment during our simulations, the environment that they're in just plays 0 factor on the match.
Right, because certain environments can give one character an advantage over another. They're probably not in this case with these specific characters.
If they were fighting in an aviary.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So no environment.
Exactly.
All right, let's go ahead and get started. All right, the characters are 50 yards apart. Who goes first?
The penguin goes first.
Why?
Because he does.
Okay.
Because I have a move planned.
All right.
That's why.
Okay.
So the penguin sees Kingpin 50 yards away. He lifts up his umbrella and he opens it up. And inside, he has about 4 or 5 doves just like nested in there.
Okay.
And he sends them off to attack Kingpin. And
Doves
they start,
against the Kingpin?
well, I'm just thinking of like
You just brought a dove to a fucking fist fight. So these
did,
doves,
yeah.
I guess they're gonna like fly over to Kingpin and they're gonna mildly annoy him.
No, they're gonna like start pecking at his eyes and stuff and clawing at his bald head.
He'll close his eyes and he'll grab the birds and he'll just fucking crush them to death.
Yeah, but while he's distracted doing that, that's when the penguin takes aim with his umbrella and starts firing away, machine gun style, with his trick umbrella at the Kingpin.
Oh, dang. Okay. So I bet you the penguin probably shoots some of those birds too. So
yeah, that's fine. He doesn't care.
So all the birds are dead. Okay. Kingpin's probably getting shot a few times, but here's the thing. The Kingpin is much more agile and much more quick than he looks. So he's like, he may be dodging a few of these bullets. I mean, obviously he's getting tagged by a few of them.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. His suit also has Kevlar lining to it. So
oh, crap.
they're hitting him
that.
and they're probably hurting mildly. But unless you're shooting him in the face, it's not going to affect him a whole lot because he is a raging bull. And guess what? This bull is charging, and he charges right into the penguin's umbrella and, like, just smashes it upon impact.
No. Because the penguin sees the Kingpin approaching him.
Well, how much ammo does the penguin even have, actually?
It's not that much.
Okay.
So, but, he was firing. He sees him coming at him. So then he ejects a blade from the tip of his umbrella.
Oh, shit.
So when the Kingpin charges into him, he charges into that bayonet.
Okay, well, Kevlar doesn't really do much against blades. So, I guess Kingpin is getting stabbed, but where?
Right in the neck.
In the neck?
Yeah.
No, it's going to be like, like in the gut somewhere, like on the side of his gut or something. Something inconsequential.
Right in the liver.
I'm pretty sure Kingpin's been stabbed there multiple times before. And what he does is he grabs the umbrella and he pulls it out of him and he breaks the umbrella in half. So now Penguin doesn't have his machine gun bayonet umbrella.
That went out quicker than I thought it would.
So he throws the pieces of the umbrella down, and he still has his walking cane with him at this point. And he swings it around and connects with Penguin and knocks him backward.
Honestly, the Penguin should be done after that. Like one hit, he's out. In most instances, honestly. But we'll say he ducks just enough, just in time, so that the Kingpin just knocks off his top hat.
Okay.
And in the top hat was another, fierce falcon that he kept in there.
Wait, he kept a falcon inside of his top hat?
Yes, he did. Yes.
Wouldn't the falcon shit on his
but
head?
it's trained not to, though.
Oh my god.
So the falcon goes after the Kingpin with its razor-sharp talons and just starts plucking out his eyes.
Not eyes, not both eyes. Maybe he scratches one of Fisk's eyes.
Good.
But
good.
Fisk, again, just deals with the bird by freaking knocking it away with his cane.
That's messed up.
Fisk doesn't give a shit. He'll kill an animal. He doesn't care if they're endangered.
Jeez.
So he's pissed that his eye is all scratched up. He can barely see out of it, but one-eyed, he's still really formidable. So he walks up to the penguin and is about to, pretty much just lay the killing blow with his cane.
Okay, but as the Kingpin was being attacked, that's when the penguin pulled out his collapsible umbrella from his coat. And he extends that, and it's a flamethrower.
Oh, shit.
So right when the Kingpin is heading towards him, he starts dousing him in flames.
Oh, gee. Okay, so Kingpin is like, oh, fuck. So he's stopping and dropping and rolling, and I bet you that he'd be pretty effective at putting out the fire and smothering it with, the massive size of his body.
Just more to burn,
think.
more surface to burn.
No, I mean, more area to cover. I think he'd be pretty good at dousing himself. But that's not cool. He's rolling away from the penguin as fast as he possibly can, which I have to add is faster than you would think it would be.
Okay.
So he gets back up and he's burnt, his eyes scratched. He has some gunshot wounds and stuff like that. He just fucking had it with this shit. So what he does is he takes his cane and he hurls it. Not like Daredevil does where it flies in a straight line.
Yeah.
But this kind of spins around as it's flying through the air. Kind of like a helicopter blade kind of thing.
Right.
And it just whacks Penguin's flamethrower umbrella away.
Okay.
And Kingpin charges Penguin again. Penguin, he doesn't have a weapon anymore. Neither of them have a weapon.
Okay, so the Penguin sees the Kingpin charging at him, and he runs. Now, granted, he doesn't run very fast. He pretty much waddles, you know?
Kingpin catches up with him, tackles him, and then flips him over onto his back, punches him right in that stupid nose of his, and the nose goes like completely 90 degrees sideways.
Oh, shit. No! Okay. All right, but when the Kingpin tackled him, he knocked him closer towards his umbrella. So as he's getting punched in the face, he like grabs the umbrella with his other hand, then he activates the helicopter propeller at the tip of it. So now he has like a spinning blade, and now he's just like waving it at the Kingpin.
But he's not flying with it?
No, it's just a weapon for now. But the Kingpin has to back off unless he wants to get like chopped to pieces. And once he does, like the helicopter like lifts the Penguin off the ground. So now he's like Mary Poppins, just like kind of like hovering around Kingpin. And that's when he pulls out his secret weapon, a pistol. And he just starts shooting at the Kingpin with his broken nose flying through the air.
Okay, so at this point, the Kingpin, you know, he's so angry, I don't even know if bullets from a pistol are even going to harm him, especially considering that he still has the Kevlar in the suit. Right. Whatever hasn't been burned away or stabbed away or anything like that. I think Kingpin is going to pick back up his cane, and he's going to point it up in the air, and he's going to shoot one of his like electrical blasts, and it's going to shoot Penguin out of the sky. And Penguin's gonna fall down, crashing into the ground.
That hurts.
Yeah. And with that, the Kingpin closes the distance again between them, runs up to him, and the two start actually going into hand-to-hand combat.
Okay.
And I bet you by this point, Kingpin is pretty impressed with how good Penguin is fighting back.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're evenly matched or not, because I don't really know how good the Penguin is of a fighter.
Right.
Kingpin is badass though, so I'm assuming that he's the better fighter here.
Well, I mean, Penguin is trained, so he definitely, you know, gets some grapples in and stuff like that. And he probably, like, removes, like, the Kingpin's Kevlar jacket, and then his shirt and his pants, and then they're fighting in their underwear.
Oh, it's exactly what you want.
Yeah.
All right, so they're both fighting hand to hand. They both remove all of their clothes somehow during the fight. They're in their underwear.
Yeah, they, like, take their shoes off and throw it at each other and stuff like that. Yeah.
And then the two come together in a big sumo clash.
They're just trying to, like, strangle each other with their own jackets, you know?
And we'll end the match there with that sumo clash. And
just that image in your head.
Yeah. And we'll run the stats and come back with the winner of the simulation, and we'll find out exactly who came out of this clash on top.
That is the best ending to a speculation I think we've ever done.
It's the funniest. I don't know if it's the best.
It is the best.
I had a lot of fun with that one, and I had a lot of fun putting in the results and comparing exactly how these characters stack up against each other. As we suspected, you know, the Penguin has a lot more going for him, like damage level wise, because he has just so many gadgets up his sleeves.
Right.
Like, you know, guns, explosives, crazy ass birds, things like that. Kingpin doesn't have quite as many gadgets or things like that, but what he lacks in that, he makes up for in brute force. They were pretty damn comparable in terms of intelligence, in terms of like their evasiveness, just because, you know, like Penguin has his shields and Kingpin has his speed and agility.
Right.
One other thing that Penguin had above Kingpin was range. We said that a lot of the Penguin's gadgets and weapons in his umbrellas, those weapons could travel a little bit further than the Kingpin's laser cane could, basically. So yeah, kind of went tit for tat on a lot of this stuff. I have the results right here, and I thought this was going to be like a blowout in terms of the win percentage, but it came down to the wire pretty much.
Blowout? Who did you think was going to win?
Well, I thought the Kingpin was going to win. Who did you think was going to win?
The Penguin, but not by like a huge margin. I'm actually not surprised. It was pretty close.
Yeah. So the actual winner of the match between Kingpin and Penguin is Kingpin.
What?
Kingpin won 522 matches out of 1,000.
Oh, nice. I guess. I wanted the Penguin to win, but if he's going to lose, at least it's by a close margin.
It was a respectable margin. Like, when I think of the Penguin, I think of, like, one of, like, the most wussy villains out there. I guess he's more brutal than I ever thought he was, based off of the history of the character that you gave. But I'm really glad that Kingpin won this one. It's fantastic.
Enjoy it while you can.
That's right, because this is the end of this episode. And in our next episode, we will be doing another duel match where we find out who would win in a fight between Steel, John Henry Irons, and War Machine. That one's going to be a whole lot of fun, too.
Yeah, it's almost kind of like Superman versus Iron Man.
Yeah, a little bit. Although still, I don't think is as powerful as Superman, so it's a little bit more evenly matched.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a fun time nevertheless. Go ahead and write into us what you guys thought about this Penguin versus Kingpin duel and who you think will win in the upcoming Steel versus War Machine match. You can reach out to us via email at dynamicduelpodcast@gmail.com, or you can find us on social media by visiting dynamicduel.com and finding the links to our Instagram and Twitter and Facebook accounts.
Right. If you go to dynamicduel.com, you'll also find a link to our merchandise store where we sell t-shirts,
and stickers,
and mugs, and all the things with artwork from our no prizes.
Yeah, you guys definitely want to get a sticker of the Punisher artwork that Jonathan drew for last week's episode and just slap that bad boy, I don't know, on your local public restroom mirror or something.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, again, that's dynamicduel.com and you'll find all those links there.
Please don't forget to rate, review, share, and subscribe our podcast. Again, specifically, we're looking for ratings on iTunes
and Apple Podcasts. Although you can rate us anywhere. We appreciate it either way. But again, our goal is to get to 200 on iTunes so that we can become Rotten Tomatoes critics. But I think, that does it for this episode, and we'll go ahead and talk to you guys in a week.
Up and away.
True believers.